Echoes of the damned.
In the forgotten town of Ravenswood, nestled deep within the woods, where shadows danced with the eerie light of the moon, there stood an abandoned asylum. Its crumbling facade whispered tales of madness and despair, a place where the echoes of tortured souls still lingered. It was said that the asylum was cursed by the tormented spirits of those who had suffered within its walls. The locals avoided the place like the plague, fearing the dark energies that emanated from its very foundations. But curiosity is a powerful force, and it was curiosity that drew a group of adventurous teenagers to the decrepit asylum one fateful night. Among them were Sarah, the fearless leader, Jake, her loyal best friend, Emily, the skeptic, and Alex, the thrill-seeker. Armed with flashlights and cameras, they ventured into the asylum, eager to uncover its secrets. The air was thick with a palpable sense of dread as they stepped over broken floorboards and through crumbling hallways. The walls seemed to whisper to them, their voices a chilling reminder of the horrors that had once occurred within. As they explored deeper into the asylum, they began to hear strange noises echoing through the corridors. Faint whispers seemed to follow them, and the sound of footsteps echoed in the darkness. Emily scoffed at their paranoia, dismissing the noises as nothing more than their imaginations running wild. But then they stumbled upon a room that sent shivers down their spines. The walls were adorned with cryptic symbols, and the air was heavy with the stench of decay. In the center of the room stood a rusted metal table, stained with old blood. As they approached, a sudden gust of wind extinguished their flashlights, plunging them into darkness. Panic gripped their hearts as they fumbled for their phones, desperate for any source of light. And then they saw it. A figure emerged from the shadows, its eyes gleaming with malevolence. It was a grotesque creature, its skin pallid and rotting, its limbs contorted at unnatural angles. Blood dripped from its jagged teeth as it let out a guttural growl. The teenagers screamed in terror as the creature lunged at them, its claws slashing through the air. They ran for their lives, their footsteps echoing through the asylum as they desperately searched for an escape. But the asylum seemed to twist and turn, its corridors shifting like a labyrinth designed to trap them. They stumbled upon more horrors as they fled, encountering the restless spirits of the damned who roamed the halls in search of revenge. Sarah felt a cold hand grasp her shoulder, its grip like ice against her skin. She turned to see the ghostly visage of a young girl, her eyes hollow and empty. With a blood-curdling scream, Sarah broke free and ran faster, her heart pounding in her chest. They finally reached the exit, their bodies bruised and battered, their minds haunted by the horrors they had witnessed. But as they stepped out into the moonlit night, they realized that they had not escaped unscathed. One by one, they began to change. Their skin grew pale and clammy, their eyes darkening with a hunger that consumed their very souls. They had become vessels for the spirits that dwelled within the asylum, cursed to wander the earth for all eternity. And so, the echoes of the damned continued to resonate through Ravenswood, a reminder of the darkness that lurked within the abandoned asylum, forever haunting those who dared to tread upon its cursed grounds. The once bustling town of Ravenswood now lay under a shroud of fear and despair, its residents living in constant dread of the horrors that lurked in the shadows. The abandoned asylum cast a long, sinister shadow over the town, its presence a grim reminder of the darkness that had consumed it. Sarah, Jake, Emily, and Alex, now transformed into grotesque abominations, roamed the streets of Ravenswood, their every step leaving behind a trail of death and destruction. Their eyes glowed with an unholy light as they hunted for unsuspecting victims to satiate their insatiable hunger. The townsfolk whispered in hushed tones about the cursed teenagers who had dared to enter the asylum, their faces twisted with fear at the mere mention of their names. Some claimed to have seen them lurking in the shadows, their inhuman forms a chilling sight that haunted their nightmares. But there were those who refused to cower in the face of fear, determined to rid Ravenswood of the evil that had taken root within its walls. Among them was Father Thomas, the local priest, whose faith was unshakable even in the face of such darkness. Armed with holy water and sacred relics, Father Thomas ventured into the heart of the asylum, his prayers echoing through the empty halls. He knew that he faced a formidable foe, but he refused to back down, his resolve as strong as steel. As he delved deeper into the asylum, he encountered the restless spirits that prowled its corridors, their anguished wails echoing in his ears. But he pressed on, his faith guiding him through the darkness. And then he found them. Sarah, Jake, Emily, and Alex, their twisted forms lurking in the shadows, their eyes blazing with hatred. Father Thomas confronted them, his voice steady despite the fear that threatened to consume him. He held aloft his crucifix, its glow casting a brilliant light that drove back the darkness. With a mighty prayer, he called upon the power of the divine to banish the evil that had taken hold of the teenagers' souls. For a moment, it seemed as though the darkness would consume them all. But then, with a deafening roar, the spirits were vanquished, their anguished cries fading into the ether. The asylum stood silent once more, its walls no longer echoing with the tormented screams of the damned. The curse had been broken, and Ravenswood was free from the grip of darkness. But the scars of that fateful night would linger for years to come, a reminder of the horrors that had once plagued the town. And though the asylum remained abandoned, its secrets buried deep within its walls, the echoes of the damned would never be forgotten.